in the studio. Wow, he's doing busy.
No, I got this, JP. I got this. I can bring us back. I'm the big boy. Well, looks like
He said he's the big boy.
That's what I said. When did that start?
The big boy. Listen,
I'm the big boy.
listen, his girlfriend has him going to the gym a lot. So he's all pumped up over here thinking he's the big boy now. He's been walking around flexing.
I'm so hyped up on. I'm so jacked up on Mountain Dew right now. You don't even know. I'm just kidding.
Good morning, everybody. Saturday morning sports talk. That's Hunter Yancey, Terry Reinhardt. I'm Kevin Hastings. Finishing up our Mitchem's Kitchen biscuits. Looking at the PGA leaderboard, I was trying to find the cut line on the U.S. Open.
Oh, there it is.
+2. So Tiger made the cut.
Even.
I didn't make any so-called bets with any friends. I did text a couple people that might not make the cut again this week. Terry's even. Cuts +2. The leader is -9. Tiger gonna pull this greatest comeback ever off, like we always talk about, or they going is Gary Woodland about to hit 9 balls in the water like they did at the Masters?
Well, you know, the guy's 9, and then the next guy's at 7. So really, he's in the hunt. He's only 6 strokes back from being in contention of being in the top 3. I mean, you know, and
Just has to have a good
today,
first 6 holes.
And you know the hardest shots are coming today and tomorrow. So you think this guy's going to finish at 9 or higher? I don't think so. So I think this whole thing's going to start dwindling back to him. You know, because I mean he's tied for 32nd at even par. So Gary Woodland, does he shoot like this all the time? No. And you know, and everybody knows when you're playing in Masters and this U.S. Open or whatever, the shots get tougher on Saturdays and Sundays. What you did on Thursday and Friday is a big thing, but can you withhold it now? Now you got to hold on to a lead, and I don't know whether he can.
And see, this is the only thing I would say. Last night when I stopped watching, he was on 9. He was on 9, and he was -8. So and he only finished at -9. I was like, so you kind of just petered out. Yeah, you kept parring. You kind of just petered out, and you got one above to end the day. Is that a sign that you're maybe plateauing right here, or you might not play as good as you did today tomorrow? Because there's what he has to realize is they tell you not to look behind you, but he's got some scary names behind him. McIlroy -5.
McIlroy won last week too.
So I mean he's got.
At 7. I mean he's right.
Kuchar's #1 in the FedEx standings. Koepka is there.
I was going to say there's Koepka, who honestly could be one of the best, if not the best golfer in the world right now, arguably.
I think he's the best.
So I mean, Adam Scott's there. He's a well-known name. So if you don't look behind you and you just play your game, just play your game. Yeah, you should be able to continue on the momentum you have and at least build on it. But if he sees somebody's creeping up behind him,
well, I mean, you know, I know Kevin plays a lot of golf. Kevin, when you go out and play, I know you're playing against people sometimes, but you don't play them people.
No, you can't.
You got to play the course.
That's the #1 mistake.
You know,
in golf is looking at who you're playing against and playing with, because his shot has nothing to do with your shot.
Yeah.
And then and here's another thing about golf is that it's hard to do, is that your last shot has nothing to do with this shot.
Yep.
This shot is this shot, and then you have to go in your routine. You have to line up. You have to do everything for granted. And as soon as you skip one of these processes, that's when the bad shots happen. You start missing and messing up. And that's the hardest thing to do in golf is you're sitting there trying to play your game, and this guy beside you on fire. And you're just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then you start stretching and trying to get closer or do this. And then when you miss a putt that you normally wouldn't get mad about, now you're mad because this guy's draining putts all over the green. And that's why what's so hard in golf, you got all these people on the course, Terry. You can play the best round you've ever had and not win.
Yeah.
And then the next golf tournament, you play one good round and 3 crappies and still win, because everyone else played 4 crappies. So it's kind of like a NASCAR race, you know, sometimes where you might not have the best car and you end up winning sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of them things. If you're playing and I'm going to wait on this guy, we might be even, but if he's going to take this shot through the trees to try to hit the green, all I'm going to do is chip back out. I'm going to put the pressure on him. Either he's going to chip out with me or he's going to try to go for it. And if he tries to go for it, he might end up in a worse position than I am just by me chipping back out on the green.
Two things about that. Look who's tied for 11th right now at -3 down here with the American flag. And that's the different player than the rest of these guys. Zach Johnson, he plays it in the fairway, hitting it short. Well, it's not short to us regular people. Me and him, I probably hit about the same as Zach Johnson. And so I play with my friends, I'm better than him. I look like, Gary Woodland. But if I played with Gary Woodland, he'd make me look like Zach Johnson and worse. Cause that's how much further they're hitting than them. So he's playing a different game, and that's what you're kind of talking about. For example, Terry, I don't know if you've seen this movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it with Will Smith and Shia LaBeouf? One of my favorite parts of the movie is when he's playing Harold Varner, and Varner just smashes one over the trees.
Mm.
And then the little guy talks Shy out of doing it too, saying there's a bunker there. And Shy's like, yeah, but he could be chipping at the green. He's like, yeah, but he could also be in the bunker. He's like, we don't know that. He said, hit your iron out in the or wood out in the fairway, and we'll beat him that way. And the kid was right. You get out there, LaBeouf's out there in the middle of the fairway, and Varner's in the bunker, and he's in trouble. So, you've got to. It's different ways of playing, and that's what I mean by his shot has nothing to do with your shot. Yeah. That is so hard. And looking down this score.
And how hard is it going to be for Woodland going into the day? I've got a 2-shot lead. Is he going to forget what he did Thursday and Friday? I mean, he cannot. I can still got to play the course the same way. But even when he does, I say he goes out in the first hole, and all of a sudden Justin Rose birdies, and all of a sudden he's within one. Do I change my game now, or do I continue to play like I've played all week?
Today's round 3, Terry. I don't think you can even look at the scoreboard, except knowing that, hey, I'm going to make the cut. Now, if I'm Woodland Rose, I wouldn't look at the scoreboard today unless I just got on ridiculous fire and say, hey, I'm probably leading, or there's no point looking at it till tomorrow. Because, there's nothing today that you want to do that's going to – you can't win a golf tournament or a golf match with a shot, but you can lose it with a shot. And that's – it's really hard. Looking at – so, Woodland, though, if you look down through those numbers there, guys, everything – all the regular numbers, all the guys are hitting 68 through 71, 68, 69, 70, 71, 68, 69, 70, 71. The couple of guys leading, what did they do the first 2 days? 65, 66, 66, 65. Top 4 people all shot a 65 or a 66. So you got to go low to jump up in there. So it's there for one of these guys behind them. So there's 25 guys right there at 3 and 4. So one of those guys shoot I think what we'll have is about 4 to 5 guys maybe going in tomorrow that have a, hey, I probably got a really good shot of winning this. And then there's 6 to 10 that I got to shoot a 64 or 63 or to jump up in there. So right now it's moving day. We got everybody's got a position. Kuchar's number 1. Koepka's there tied with him. You've got McIlroy who won last week. Oosthuizen's had the 70. I'm not too happy about. So the 66 is good, but there's a bunch of 66s on there. What I did see, Terry and Hunter, coming into this tournament, there's been a lot of complaining about the U.S. Opens. Remember about how fast they are, how hard they are. They ruin the courses. The players don't like it. So what a lot of people are saying is that the PGA made it easier, or USGA made it easier on them here these maybe first round or two, and then these next 2 days. They're about to get to hammer the next 2 days. JP, we're going to get a caller in just a minute. Can you hear me? Maybe that's why our caller's on it. JP, we're going to get a caller in just a minute, okay? Tell us about the golf. You hear me? Thumbs up. You don't have to put your mic on. Thumbs up. You hear me? We're going to get a caller in a minute. Okay.
Shake your head. Yeah, good job.
I don't know if he's breathing in there, Terry. Sometimes.
Oh, he's been laughing. So
is that what it is? We know he's
alive.
We know his batteries are on. We don't know if he's a real boy yet, but we'll find out one day, maybe.
Oh, he might be a big
boy.
Sure.
Keep
Hunter.
Keep going. Yeah. I'm I'm a droid from Star Wars.
He does have the master switch there, Terry. He can actually turn us off and talk about whatever he wants. But.
So looking at just who we have listed right here, I mean, would you say that you're going to feel confident in Woodland keeping the lead going into the end of the day, going into Sunday, or is there somebody that you could see right here giving him a little bit of a push?
Justin Rose could. I mean, he's only 2 back from me. Plus, Justin Rose is pretty. I mean, if Justin Rose gets to the lead, it's going to be hard for somebody to catch him.
He said, plus he's pretty. I was like, it's because he's pretty.
I know.
It's because he's pretty.
Yeah, he's pretty. But anyway, how close does Woods have to be, y'all, after today to have a chance? 4 shots?
He ain't got
What, to win? I don't have him winning, but if you wanted me to put a number on it, I would say at least I would at least give him 3 or 4. He has to either have 4 or 3. He has to be within 4 or 3 shots.
He's never come back in his life except for last time at the Masters when he was down how many strokes? 1.
70,
was it 1 or 2 going into Sunday?
I do not know.
It was either 1 or 2. Let's say so if he did. So the greatest thing he's ever done is 2 strokes back. He's got to go 65, Terry.
I mean, he's only 6 shots behind being 3rd.
Okay, well, that's not first.
Well, I know, but I mean...
if you ain't first, you're last.
Well, that's true.
He's tied for
but for him,
32nd.
If he would win the Masters, then come back in this tournament and finish 3rd or 4th, everybody would be hollering Tiger's back.
Well, look, I think for him, if he is setting goals, because obviously the Masters would put as an outlier for what he's done after that, as a little bit of an outlier. But if he's setting goals, at least the top 10 finish would be fantastic for him.
All right,
I think that would be great for him.
All right, he's down 9. The most he's ever come back is 1 or 2. I can't remember from the Masters. And the only time he's ever come back. Terry, if he came back down 9, would this be the greatest comeback in golf history? Yes, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What if Victor Hovland came back from 9?
How far is he back?
9. I just said
9.
Oh,
he's tied too.
What about Byung Hung? Would that be the greatest comeback in golf history?
Yeah.
Chandler
Well,
Eaton.
yeah.
I just want to know if we're going to do the same story
Yeah,
if Tiger does as if one of these other guys would
I think it should be because, like you said, you just came back from down 9.
Well, that wasn't the exact point, but my point was anyway.
I mean,
the great Tiger Woods is tied with 2 amateurs right now.
No, look at it like
he's tied with 2 amateurs.
The guy going into yesterday, and if you take, he shot a 72, Woodward shot a 65. He lost 7 strokes yesterday. So going into yesterday, he was within 2 shots of that guy. So that dude upped him by 7 shots.
I don't think he wins. I'm just saying, if he has a goal to finish, to at least have a good placement, if he could get a top 10 finish, it's good for him.
If Tiger would come back today and shoot a 66 or a 67, I think he would be within, I'm going to say, 4 shots.
Well, if I'm taking anybody out of the top 11,
if he shoots a 66, that's 5 under. That means everyone in the field is going to shoot over par today.
That's what you always have to say. Yeah, somebody out there should.
Like let's say if he shoots 66 the back days,
the course today.
Let's put it this way: if Tiger shoots 66 in the next 2 days, that's -10. Woodland would have to shoot even par for 2 days. All right, we got a caller on the line, JP. Travis Page is on the line. I think he's on the line. He's been watching.
I'm here. I'm here. Good morning. Good morning, guys. How's everyone doing?
I'm pulling for this 9-stroke comeback, Travis, from these amateurs to make this. We got an amateur at -2. We got an amateur, 2 amateurs tied with Tiger. So Tiger's only as good as an amateur, right?
Well, let's say this: if Tiger comes back from a 9-stroke deficit and wins, there will be a full-blown Disney full-feature movie, maybe even an exhibit at one of the theme parks. ABC's Wild World of Sports. It'll be the greatest story ever told. One of these amateurs come back. I might would do the same thing, but if one of these other guys comes back and wins, it's a straight-to-DVD movie. So Tiger's the one that moves the needle. Back in April when I called in and talked golf with you guys, I picked him to win the Masters. I thought certainly he looked good. It kind of fit the recipe of an Augusta win for Tiger. If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Tiger was the favorite just based upon his iron play. But this week his iron play, I think, has probably been somewhat of his downfall. And so I don't see him coming back, making up a 9-stroke deficit. If you ask me who I think is going to win this tournament, it's probably going to be Justin Rose or Rory. Just looking at the way these guys have been playing recently, Justin in particular, first 2 rounds, I think at one point he had a 3-stroke lead. Mm-hmm. He was 72nd in strokes gained off the tee, 90-something off of the strokes gained approach. But his scrambling around the greens, his short game, was where he was just crushing the field. And I think Jordan Spieth was quoted as saying it's some of the best scrambling he's ever seen. And so U.S. Open conditions at Pebble Beach, I think that short game's imperative, and I think he'll end up bringing home the trophy this weekend.
Travis, do you? I know you play some golf and stuff. I know these are. Pros,
I do.
I know these are pros. As far as the scramble, those stats you give me, they sound encouraging to you. That actually scares me, and the fact that this joker's having to have it. It's good that he's playing that well with a short game. But does the short game stay that good, or is it some of it, man, I pulled a couple of those rabbits out of the hats here. I don't know how many of those I can sustain. Because I'm not saying that he's not going to keep playing well. Maybe he can go 68, 68. But there's just so many other people within striking distance right now. Looking down there, you're talking about Rory. Koepka and Kuchar are 1 stroke behind McIlroy. Do you go back as far as -4? Is the furthest back you'd go? You think they can still win this right now? Or
well, I think a lot of that depends on the course conditions. If it stays like it's been the first 2 days, where it's been a little more softer, the winds haven't played as big a role as you might think they would, then I think the guys at the top, the Woodlands, the Roses, I think Louis up there, I think those guys might be a little more secure. But if you start seeing the course dry out, you start seeing the winds whipping through there, and we have the U.S. Open that we've had the past few years, and folks are crying and whining about it, then I think anything can happen. I think you could see some of the guys at the top, let's say Justin stops scrambling, they put up a 74 or 75, and then guys start shooting par, and we get back to a traditional U.S. Open. Speaking of that, I'm curious to see what you guys' thoughts are as far as the course. Did the U.S. Open, they get it right? Or did they overcorrect? What do you think about that? Because I think that was one of the big complaints in recent years about the USGA, is that they were just simply making the courses too impossible. Of course, Brooks Koepka didn't think so, and he said, everyone, if you hit it in the fairway and you hit it on the green, then you got nothing to worry about. Well, but the other folks, I think, have been pretty upset with the USGA. What do you guys take on that?
Real quick, that's that's every golf course, right? Hit it in the fairway and hit it on the green, and that's the
right.
That's what the winners usually say. Travis, there's always been 2 thoughts on that. I guess from my point and your point, golfers love and this is what the pros love. They love a well-maintained, groomed golf course. So they want the Masters where they can hit it in the rough and still have a great lie. So when they get to the British Open and this U.S. Open, and they make it hard for them, I don't necessarily think the U.S. Open has to make it hard for them. I wish there was a tournament that we all knew going into it, the death tournament or a fun tournament, that it was just going to be scorched earth, that type of course. I don't think U.S. Open necessarily has. I like for them to make it really hard, but I don't like it when they burn up the greens and you can't, and the course doesn't look good. You know what I'm saying? Hunter, I guess you guys watch it on TV. What do you guys think about watching that?
I thought the course actually looked really nice this year. I thought it looked really nice. It looks like a well-maintained course. I did see a lot of people actually playing a lot of people really were hitting it out of bounds more than I was. At least that's what the television showed. I always saw somebody coming back in doing a drop ball. There was a couple times people were hitting it out of the rough, but for the most part, I think everybody stayed on the narrow. They stayed on the fairway. They stayed on the green. I think it's a pretty nice course that they're on this year. I don't necessarily think that they've overcorrected. I know a lot of the players have been very successful so far on the course. That's been the first 2 days. They always say it's the last 2 days, and really the last day. I don't know if maybe they'll start to tire a little bit. That might just be the players in general. But I don't think that they overcorrected. I think this, because it's still competitive. There's not one guy who's out in front of everybody else. It's still competitive within a few shots of each player. So I think they did a good job.
Travis, my question for you is this. When you get to these championships like the Masters, U.S. Open, the British Open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, shouldn't the course be tough? I mean, it's like winning state championships in football or anything else. The defense is what's got to come. If you're not in one of these and all of a sudden I'm going to shoot a -20, I mean, that's when I would put you and Kevin out there, because y'all probably going to shoot at least a -5 or 7. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be like that.
I hear you, and frankly, I agree. I think your toughest, the tournaments where you get the most acclaim and the largest purse, I think those ought to be the most difficult and the most challenging courses. I think there is something to be said to Kevin's point about the course visually being something that you want to look at, but I think a lot of fans get tired of seeing the same old beautiful green, beautiful fairway, well manicured. They want to see something different. So that's why I think for some folks, Chambers Bay and other courses, they like tuning in and seeing that. They like tuning in, watching golfers look like one of us, and they like seeing a high score every now and then, or someone struggling to shoot par. And I agree. I think you're. Go ahead.
I got a quick, course proposal for you. Most courses you go to that you play, you go and play. It's 4 par 5s, 4 par 3s, and 10 par 4s.
Right.
Why don't we add one more 3 and one more 5 to the courses, and they get less par 4s, because the par 4s are the most boring to play, the hardest to score on. And the hardest to watch, really. Like, think about how many par 4s do you actually see them show on TV, because you usually watch it, unless it's 18, and that's the par 4s. You almost every other thing you get to see on TV, it's 99% par 3s, people going for hole-in-ones and knocking them close, and people going for eagles and getting birdies on the par 5. So I think it would make for more exciting. It don't change the score. It's just a different. You got to, like this week they got a par 71 this week, so they don't mind messing with that. So why not, a 5 par 5s, 5 par 3s, and then 4 par. You still get 8 par 4s. It's not like you're getting that much less. What do you think about something like that?
I like that. I even like 6, 6, and 6.
We want to get there at some point, maybe, right?
That's the wrong course, Travis. Mine is 2 par 3s and 16 par 5s.
That's what. Yeah, tell me that's all birdies.
You might see a 20 under U.S. Open if you saw something like that, though, the way these guys light up par 5.
I mean, people want to see them hit these 3-woods off the deck like 300 yards and stuff. You're adding extra excitement with people going for eagles and stuff. Like you said, the 6-6.
Yeah.
Do most people, when you're playing golf, and y'all guys are golfers, want to see a -20? Or do you want to see something where every shot that guy has to take is going to be tough, where your total might be even or -1 to win it?
I think the majority of fans get the most excited over watching birdies and eagles and things like that. I don't think your average watcher, they may not appreciate how tough it was for Payne Stewart to win an even par U.S. Open.
The word par just isn't exciting. Like, hey, here's your champion. He shot par, right?
Right. It's like watching a 65-60 or 56-50 Virginia basketball game. They'd rather see a Carolina Duke 92 to 88.
Any NC State game.
That's the same thing. The same thing with how they did this year. The highest rated NFL game this year was the Rams-Kansas City shootout. Every sport seems to be going towards offense. You can almost make the same claim here with this. A question for you, Travis. I know you alluded into saying that you think Justin Rose might be the one that comes out and has a good day, at least has a good rest of the U.S. Open. Is that because you think he just outshoots Gary Woodland, or you think Gary Woodland actually takes a step back today and tomorrow?
I see Gary taking a step back.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. Gary, I haven't seen him really on this stage before, and it could be his coming out party. He's always been a really good wedge player, 120 in. And some of the par fives, the way they've been setting up, to where these guys have had short wedges going in for their third shots, as opposed to getting there in two. But Justin, he's performed on the largest of stages, the British Open, the Olympics. I think that experience would carry him over Gary this week, and that's why I would choose Justin. Even being 2 shots behind going into the weekend, I could see Justin prevailing over Gary.
I think you picked
based
Justin
upon
Rose.
that experience.
I think you picked him because you used him on Tiger Woods video games. That's ain't that right?
Well, my character did tend to look like him a little bit.
Now,
It was a
Gary,
cross-
one more question. Gary Woodland, has he won anything or competed in any of the major tournaments that we've seen? I know he's won some tournaments, but has he been at the top of any of the others?
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know that he has. I seem to remember him making a push or scoring pretty well early on in a Masters or two. I think he's been on the tour since 2009, so he's been on the tour for 10 years.
He's got five total wins, 3 PGAs.
Yeah. So
Best results: 24th in the Masters, 23rd in the U.S. Open, 12th in the British, and 8th in the PGA. No, 6th in the PGA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember the Masters. I remember him being in the maybe top 3 or top 5 going into one of the weekends, but then he kind of came apart. But or other guys just outperformed him. But this weekend, I would probably pick Justin over Gary if I'm picking between the two of those guys. And don't be surprised if Aaron Wise makes a push. He's a really young golfer, but he completely pounds the ball, much like Brooks off the tee. So any of those guys. Hey, listen, before I go, wanted to change the subject and talk a little football, if that's all right with you.
Well, I got one more point on the U.S. Open real quick, guys. And
all right, let's hear it.
The guys I was saying who my favorites were, Kuchar, Koepka, and McIlroy. I said that before I even looked at the stats. Looking at the stats, Koepka, Kuchar, and McIlroy and Gary Woodland are the only 4 golfers yet to shoot in the 70s. They're the only 4 that shoot 60s both rounds. Koepka, Kuchar, McIlroy, Woodland. Those are my favorites to go into Sunday and win. Travis likes Justin Rose. He's in position. I'm not saying he's not going to. I just like those 4 with those 60. All right, Travis. I know you had a football.
Kuchar, going to Kuchar, quick point on Kuchar. If he wins, how much is he going to pay his caddy?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hey, he paid him back that day. Yeah, that was pretty kind of a weird deal. And it's funny how Mickelson made fun of him. All
right, well, quick point on football before I go.
All right, what you got there, sir?
All right, I ran into one of your listeners the other weekend and talking football, and a lot of the money that's coming into Vegas, I've been reading, has been going on the Chicago Bears, and which was pretty surprising to me. But they've got Khalil Mack. But they have a really talented quarterback who might be the best quarterback in the league before the end of the day, before it's all said and done, of former North Carolina Tar Heel Mitchell Trubisky.
Keep talking. Keep talking, yeah. Okay. I'm listening, Travis. I'm with you. Let's go. Let's go.
But, old Casey Rainwater said to tell you hello. Give him a shout-out.
I love me some Casey. Casey was on the... on Twitter the other day arguing with a guy about trading cards, and the guy ended up blocking Casey and caught him a scrub. I almost wanted to tell that guy, I dare you to challenge Casey to a basketball game and see who's the scrub, because I would bet my money unless that baseball trading card guy would get just destroyed by Casey on that. What do you think, Travis?
Casey was a Splash Brother before there were the Splash Brothers. Casey could hit from 35, 40 feet out. Didn't matter where he pulled. He had a hand in his face.
And he only weighed as much as the basketball, so I never understood how he got the ball up to the rim.
Well, I didn't have a problem with that either, though.
Yeah, you're too short. I mean, you were skinny, too. All right, Travis, real quick, you and Terry here are both, y'all might be State and Carolina rivals, but you're both Cowboys fans. You ready to give Dak Prescott $30 million?
Absolutely not. Trading for Mitchell Trubisky, or I really wished Cowboys had made a play for that number 2 pick. I wish the Panthers had too, but Dak, maybe we can trade him with Jim Nance and bring back Tony.
I tell them all the time, wouldn't it be better to trade Dak for a bunch of draft picks now before you have to pay him, and then just pick a quarterback if you want? I mean, it's 4th round. I got him in the 4th round. You can do that to somebody else, can't you?
Yeah. We're good when we have a great offensive line, and that can cover up some of Dak's flaws. We can pound the ball with Zeke, and Dak's very productive in the RPO, run pass option, and the zone read type offense. But when we're down 2 scores and we have to come back and come back on his arm, I don't know that I trust him to bring us back.
Well, Travis, I'm going to put it to you like this. When I go back since Dak has come into the NFL.
Oh, God, here we go.
He is the second winningest quarterback in the NFL behind Tom Brady. So Tom Brady's like $15 million a year or somewhere in that range, like 19th on the poll. So if I'm going to be average and say that we pay Dak for what he's worth and what the money is going now, don't you figure it should be, and I know this is not going to happen, but somewhere in the $24 to $26 million range a year?
That's so much money.
It is.
That's so much money.
But it's more better than 32 or 33.
And given the quarterback situation, the last thing Cowboys fans, we've been through a tough 15, 20 years, and you look back at the quarterbacks we had before Romo, thinking of going back to Quincy Carter or Drew Henson or any of those guys, I think you'd have second thoughts about letting Dak walk, not knowing what's out there, that you might be stuck with Quincy Carter for a couple of years, or Drew Henson, or Drew Bledsoe, or washed up Drew Bledsoe. So
Quincy Carter did beat the Panthers one time on cocaine.
I think Dallas will end up giving him the money. They're going to sign him. They're going to keep him. They're not going to let him walk. But it might be one of those things in 3 or 4 years that Dallas regrets. But again, you got to make the best decision at the time with the best set of information that you have, and that's probably going to be signing Dak, because of the uncertainty of letting him go.
All right, Travis, one last thing before we're going to talk about the NBA next. One last thing before you go. A couple things. We got to play some golf. The weather's wonderful. Then I need you to give me your favorite for next year's championship right now, knowing nothing. Everybody stays the same and stays in place. Nobody changes teams. Who's the champion next year?
The next year's champion will be LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the Los Angeles Lakers.
Well, I thought you said nothing changed.
No changes.
Nothing changed.
Nothing.
But that's a decent prediction if he does change.
If nothing changes, then I'm taking the Raptors to repeat. There's not a better defensive team in the league.
All right, Travis. Well, thanks for calling, and we'll talk later. We'll get on the golf course, and the weather's warming up. Oh, real quick, Travis, my son, who wants to be a NASCAR driver, knocked over his first mailbox yesterday.
Have him give me a call. We'll get him out of it.
The neighbor, who was a JV basketball player for the North Carolina Tar Heels, made him help him fix it with this made him hold screws and hold it still while they repaired it together. So we don't need the lawyer yet, Travis. He's 7.
How old's your son?
He's 7.
All right. Well, on the go-kart, just have him try to avoid the house. When I was 6, I ran into the side of our house and ended up in a body cast for 6 weeks. But
I didn't know you was in a body cast.
My racing career ended early.
No, your boogity didn't go any further than that.
I went from a go-kart going 20 and 30 miles an hour to a little red wagon going 2 miles an hour.
Did John pull you in the wagon around the road?
No, he was too busy getting potty trained at the time.
Okay. All right, Travis. Well, have a good weekend. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Y'all too. Thanks for having me. Y'all take care.
Hey, real quick, shout out to your law firm.
Hey, Arthurs and Foltz. LLP in Gastonia, the best law firm in Gaston County.
All right, folks, that's Travis Page, former
right.
Sheriff of Ironman here, and Appalachian State graduate and UNC Tar Heel graduate. Thanks, Travis, for giving us a call. We got to take a break, JP. I know we're way behind, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk NBA champions. That's the thought. Who is the favorite for next year? No Durant. Are the Lakers, who did not make the playoffs, the favorite to win next year's championship? We'll talk about that in a minute on KTCBroadcasting.com.